Hi guys, before we get into this week's episode, it's quite a hefty one, so we split it into two parts. Part 2 will be coming next week with the Ultimate Carbon Showdown in there. But yeah, enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Running Shorts presented by Accelerate, a podcast where we talk all about running.
Running? What's that? Running? Are we going running?
Someone's had 3 days off.
I've just woken up. Running.
With Stuart Hale and myself, Harvey Martin.
Morning.
And today we've got a pretty special guest, Andy Shelton.
He's quite special as well. Good morning.
Yeah, he's very special, our Andy. I like Andy.
I am special.
Hi, Andy.
Hello, Stuart. How are you?
I'm all right. Are you?
I'm fine.
Jolly good. Well, cheers for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
You run.
A little bit.
You've been involved with kind of us and Team Accelerate for quite a while as well, haven't you now?
I run a little bit, yes.
So, how's it going?
Fine.
Because you've got a new family too.
A new family, yes. A little one. She's causing me more mischief than ever. But it's all trying to fit it all in great because it keeps you on your toes.
Yes,
Keeps you fit.
it's a challenge, isn't
itself. Challenging itself, having 3 hours of sleep and then trying to chuck in a decent session on a Sunday is always a barrel of laughs. But no, it's all great fun at the minute. I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Fantastic. And you've brought with you your some of your ever-growing collection, an addiction to carb. Addiction, is that the right word? Or obsession?
No,
Experimentation.
he could stop at any point.
Experiment with carbon shoes.
Experimentation with
what works?
a lot of carbon shoes. And we thought that you could introduce us to, well, your carbon shoe range.
Yeah,
it's quite mad.
Maybe start a little bit before
Look at it.
and do a bit about Andy and then go to shoes.
Yeah.
So, why'd you run?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it. And the other one, people say I like spending money on shoes, but I enjoy it, and it's great for the soul, to be honest.
I think Harvey's after a more involved answer than I am. But he just got that and he completely threw him.
That's
so.
it.
That's all right. I'm
just keep
similar.
to one-word answers, and it'll be fine.
I like a one-word answer.
Yeah.
Precise and concise, and that's it.
How long have you been running for?
Running? Not very long. I think I started when I was 41.
How old are you now?
47.
Oh, okay. So 5 years.
6. Soon to be 7 years because I'm destined to reach 48 in about 4 weeks' time.
Oh, the maths in this place is
great, isn't it?
That was intentional.
It was. I think it was.
That was meant to be intentional, but
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this with reps.
Yeah, just always do one more.
I might have done 3.
I struggle with reps as well, to be honest. I can never remember how many I've done. I have to rely on my watch to remind me.
And what sort of running do you do? Are you on the road, off road? Do you race?
Primarily road work, and it's marathons, half marathons and marathons. It's my little bag, really. I enjoy the challenge of each one because each one is slightly different. Yes, I've had epic failures at some of them, which have been monumentally epic, and I've had some damn good ones. But each one throws a little challenge in. I enjoy the training blocks beforehand, to be honest, because that's a different insight into every little bit of different things. So each training block, like for a half marathon, is slightly different to the marathon training block. And then you try and mix, and it's like I'm not in love with the faster races at the minute. I fell out of love with 5Ks because I don't think I'm good enough now for 5Ks. I think I lean on the side of the stupidity, which is like pushing your body to what it can do in a certain amount of time. So I'm looking to get a certain amount of miles done in a certain amount of time, and it's when you look at it on the grand scheme of things, it's verging on a bit of self-harm and lunacy, because you're pushing your body to its maximum, and I enjoy the training for that, which sounds wrong, because if you put the effort in with the training, it makes the race a little bit easier, if that makes sense. So that's what my bag is. I've ventured into a bit of ultra races, but that was a interesting one. But that's something I would probably do again. I enjoyed that, the challenge of that. I managed to chuck 60 miles in 15 hours. I didn't finish the race because my leg packed up, which was not was that
Not part of the plan.
definitely not part of the plan. It was an 80-mile race. I managed to get 60 miles in about 14 and a half hours. For me, that's fine. That wasn't a failure. That was a successful failure, not a I'm going to beat myself up senseless
Yeah, I know
about
what
it.
you mean.
That I've gone out and I've managed to chuck 60 miles in less than a day. And when you look at people's trainings, they're not sticking 60 miles in a week. So I think, that's a little tick to me that proves mentally I'm strong enough to go out and just keep going. And it was only reason I had to stop, the body gave up. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'd have kept enjoying the race because it was like a rolling buffet. Every little stop was. Harry would have loved it, pork pies, Scotch eggs. Oh, he'd have been in his element, I'll tell you.
He's still at
Sausage
checkpoint
rolls.
1 waiting to get kicked out.
Harry, you're supposed to have finished this by now, no? But things like that, and it's also the
Buffet Ultra.
It is the Buffet Ultras.
Weirdly, Harry's signing up for one now.
He's gone.
£120, Harry, if you want to do that one. The hard mode's 80.
Deal.
He's in. But again, it's all working out, especially with my running. That it's the nutrition stuff, what affects me, what doesn't. It's all that background. It's the working out what is good for me, and that's why I enjoy that training, because I know I can rely upon that in a race or in any competitive environment that I can do that. And I think with that 60 out of the 80 miles I did, mentally toughened me up to think, you know what, I can get out the door and just get it done. And you just hark back to that, and that gets you through a tough session. So as I say, if I'm struggling on a long session on a Sunday or something, or a long pace run, I just use that as right, you did it. You managed to get your backside off. You managed to do all that. You can do 5 miles. What's your problem?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's that prepared me mentally to be able to tackle this another set of marathons again in the next few years. Because my next one is in 5 weeks in Berlin, in fact.
Oh, back to Berlin. What's your PB?
My marathon PB is 3:09. I'm
Nice.
just trying to knock that 9 minutes off, and that's it.
What's your half?
Half is 1:18. And that's a long time ago now.
Yeah, so theory off that should be doable.
Yeah, so
When did you run 309?
3:09, that was in Chester in 20... I think about 2017, I think.
Is that with carbons or not?
Not with carbon shoes at all. That was with
Interesting.
the dreaded Cloud Surfer. That was.
Wow, no carbons.
No carbons at all in there. And now it's venturing into the carbon environment. It's an interesting little minefield that either suits some people or doesn't suit people. So here is a few of the ones I've not brought, the New Balance ones, because they're trashed. Absolutely, they've been trashed, and the Endorphin Pro 3s, they're a bit battered as well now. But these are the ones that are...
What was your first pair of carbons?
First pair of carbon shoes was this one. That one, which is a mix of
For
plastic.
people just listening, they're on
They're the
Boom
on
3?
Boom.
Boom 1?
They're the Boom 1. They're the original one, which was a mix of carbon. I think it was 30% carbon, 7% plastic. But it had a lovely return on that one. But that was the first ever venture into carbon shoes, that was. And then it was like an adventure into see what else
Then it was
out
the
there.
slippery slope.
It was a very slippery slope, because it's like, what can a carbon shoe, for me, provide? And I'm only some little fish in a big pond that use these, but I like to be able to feedback what thing people want to know about them. Are they useful? Are they not useful? Are they going to be the next big thing? I don't know. I'm just a normal runner that goes out but tries these things off my own bat. There's no can you do this, can you do that with them? But I like the research. I like to mess with things and understand them, because as a scientist myself, I like to find out the science behind them, how it alters your biomechanics, what it does. Will it make you a better runner or not?
Because you did, talking of biomechanics, you did go and get filmed, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah, a variety of them.
Yes.
I don't think you were surprised at the results.
No, not at
and I think
all,
we were
no.
all going, yeah, we saw that coming.
Yeah.
And what were the results of high-speed filming?
High-speed film was interesting, the 4D motion matrix, because it found that carbon shoes make your running style totally different, totally unnatural. That's the thing about them. With the normal shoes, I think I took a pair of Cloud Stratus or something like that. Absolutely spot on. Running style was spot on. With the and I took a pair of Cloud Flows as well. Again, that was absolutely spot on. Then we ventured into the carbon territory, and it made your whole position, your body position changed. How your return was on your running cycle, it was your legs moved totally different to they do in a non-carbon shoe. So that was the interesting factor, that they make you a more ungainly runner than a more smooth, potentially efficient runner.
Did you go and have the 4D matrix because of injury, or is it just purely the science and the
Curiosity and
fascination?
science of it for me. What was happening? Yeah, the whole sequence of how the body works. Yeah, and it was just out of morbid curiosity that I thought, you know what, I want to try this and see what it is. And it was like the results were very, very interesting, because there's certain shoes was definitely not for me, and that was a New Balance one, which definitely is not for me, because it makes your leg, one of my legs, flick out, which you don't realise you're doing it until you're being filmed.
Yeah.
It's that weird sensation that you don't know it's happening, but when you put into high speed, then you slow everything down. And you got the sensors on.
Was there any feedback on your pelvis position?
Yes.
Was that tipping forward?
It was sinking.
Sinking.
In the carbon shoe, you sank a little bit, so you have to.
Which is what you said with hamstring activation not happening in them.
Because you
also seen obviously with the pelvis tips as well.
Because as Stuart, we said earlier on, it just makes carbon shoe makes your running form slightly less efficient than you would do in a normal shoe, like I would say that one, because that one automatically picks you up, because you have to. The rest of them, if you notice, well, especially you can see it on that one, it rocks a lot further, so your central point's more here. You feel it as it sinks like that.
Where the rocker is, I think, is having a major impact. Well, I mean, one of the things that I guess I always say this from a coaching point of view, but one of the things I see, particularly down the track, and I don't get frustrated, but I do kind of quietly shake my head when youngsters are in the carbon shoes.
Oh yeah, I saw so many this weekend.
And it's exactly what you say. We're seeing that sinking. We're not seeing extension through the posterior chain, so that's glutes, hamstring, calves, folks. That we should get, particularly with, if you like, teenagers and in some cases young teenagers. And then we're also seeing this sinking and obviously glute activation, etc. It's not as good as it's not as it should be.
It's not as efficient.
And at some point, these youngsters are going to have to sort that out to hit the world stage.
It's funny you should
if
say.
They're going to be that good.
I saw. I was marching at a race
common.
On Friday. I would say under 15 had carbon shoes on, which I think is totally inappropriate, because they're not fully developed as people yet, and I think they shouldn't be making carbon shoes for the younger end of the market. They should be for.
They're buying adult shoes. There isn't actually anything available for
it's
youngsters.
like this is. I'm thinking, wow.
But if you talk to some of the biomechanics, and they actually will say we wouldn't put our kids in a carbon shoe, but they're happy to sell them to anybody and don't put anything. You know, should they come with a health warning? You know,
it's the ultimate minefield.
These shoes could change how you run, but you could say that with any shoe. I mean, crikey, we had shoes with medial posts for years, and everybody said that's what we want from a stability point of view. Now we've got all the brands taking it out and saying it's not a good thing. Clearly, there's some benefit to speed, otherwise people wouldn't be wearing them for racing. But actually, if you're going to buy a carbon shoe, actually have somebody look at you running them. Don't just buy them.
Don't buy it on a whim.
Don't. Because if it's
they're not bought on a whim, Harvey, they're bought for scientific purposes.
But yeah, you should come and actually have someone look at you run. And it's like Harvey's in a bad pair of carbon shoes. He jumps on the treadmill. We know they're bad. It's like, who let the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
A guaranteed sign of a bad carbon shoe is the slap.
Well, any shoe.
Yeah, it's that slap.
It's almost a boom. It's like that shouldn't be called the boom. When you're at the track and the kids got the Nikes on, especially they're the Nike booms. You can hear them coming a mile off.
Absolutely slapping
it's
like
boom, 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 boom. It's nuts.
It's not a nice noise.
No, it's not.
I call it the carbon slap, because it is a horrible, horrible noise.
And that, if you had that in any other shoe, would be instant. Yeah, anybody would say change the shoe.
Yeah,
it's not right for you.
But it's this magic carbon shoe that's going to make you the best thing since sliced bread. And like I've said before,
not if it's going to change your mechanics.
Yeah, I think the carbon plate is not as what it's supposed to do. It's there. It's the foam of the shoe. It's definitely the foam of the shoe that makes it. It stops your legs getting tired. Absorbs a lot of the shock.
It's interesting because you've got traditional
Well, do you
foams,
want
haven't we?
to
And we've
talk what you've got through on the table?
PBX
Can do,
foams.
yeah. So just if you want to start at the, well, pick a shoe. Pick a shoe.
Yeah, let's go green.
Go green. I like this one. It looks like a clog, but it's great. It is a fun shoe to run in. I would recommend
The Saucony Endorphin Elite.
They are a night. They are such a light shoe. You don't know wear them, but they've got such a comfy feel to them. They are quite stiff, but that's what you need. But there's foam in them again. I think that's a P-Bax foam in that one, and it's really, really soft, and it really does cushion all the blows. As you can see, it's a stiff plate in that one. That is a stiff plate in that one. Again, that is good, but you wouldn't train in that one. That is a pure race shoe. That you maybe want to just do a couple of runs just to get used to it, but that is a pure race shoe. It isn't a cheap shoe either. That one isn't, but you can understand why it's not a cheap shoe, because there's a lot of research gone into that one. It's interesting because the previous one, the Endorphin Pro 3, is, I would say, a lot more stable. Well, again, that's a carbon plated shoe, but that's more, it's got a bit more of a secure feel to that. That basically is like that. It's nothing to it at all. It's like wearing a sock and a sole.
Have you run in that one, Harvey?
Yeah, just ran the track once. They weren't for me.
Like I've said before,
Yeah,
it's not everybody. They're not going to work for everybody. It's your
So
arches
you're
in
liking that, Andy?
I love that one because it makes you can drop your pace off like on a recovery, and then automatically you're back up to speed quite quickly.
Okay.
You can get yourself back into that place. I did the Grimsby 10k in that, and that I was just practicing marathon pacing and half marathon pacing, but I managed to 39 minutes in that one, and that was just practicing different paces.
Okay.
I'm basically having a play.
All right.
To see how it was going to work, and I was quietly chuffed with the
How
time.
many miles have you done in it now?
That one's probably got about 120 in that one.
Okay, so that's still actually looking fairly fresh.
It's
as well,
still
isn't
fairly
it?
fresh. I'm surprised in myself because I'm not the lightest runner at the minute because
Too many pies, yeah.
Yeah, too many.
We saw you had tap the birthday cake when you came in.
Well, I will do in a minute. I'll just nib down a fix. But that is a nice shoe. That one, I do like that one.
What would you give it out of 10?
That's a good 8 out of 10 on that one. Good 8 out of 10 on that one.
Where do you want to head to next, Andy?
You pick
So
away.
I'll tell you what, let's go for, you can talk about all three. If we head to that's the Boom 3, isn't it?
This is the brand new one that Honor brought out, the Boom Echo 3. I don't know why they called it the 3, because the second one was called the Boom Echo and the first one was called an Echo. But this is much improved on the two versions that we can see there. They've changed the whole look of the shoe, they've changed the styling of the shoe, and they've made it a lot lighter, and they have made their foam much more manageable. It is a much easier shoe to run in than
Actually, it looks like it'll be more durable.
it is more durable. This I thought was a good shoe.
That's the two.
That's the
Or
number 2.
effectively the 2.
That's the 2. And I thought, well, look at that. That's bob on. That is.
Well, that almost looks like a flow, doesn't it? With
Yes, it's a fancy
a little
flow.
bit extra and a bit of carbon
Yeah.
and the extra layer of EVA
So yeah, that was like
or Helion.
because it was like, oh, you can see the carbon plate.
EVA.
Yeah.
You get
It's all
excited
EVA
when you
with
see.
stuff in it.
You get excited when you see the. You think, oh, it's got a carbon plate. Look at that. The styling was nice of it, and that's another thing. That blows that out of the water. Totally. That's not even on my list. I would recommend to buy as a carbon shoe. I couldn't happily recommend.
So is that effectively retired then?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
retired. That'll do me for speed sessions that I want to use because
Okay.
it's.
What sort of miles have you had out of that one?
That
do you know?
one.
Is that done pretty well, or is
That's
it
done about
average?
300. That one, which is not
Okay.
too bad. It's showing wear and tear a bit now on the heel plate and the heel bit. So there's still a bit of life left in them,
Yeah, there is.
and that's a lot firmer than the foam. Because this is the Helion foam on this one.
That's not as deep as you think it's going to be either, because
No.
you actually sat in it, aren't you?
Yeah, there's really not loads in
Yeah.
compared to some of the shoes here. There's not
it's
lots under you, is there?
surprising. Like when you put this one in, you go, ooh, That's really quite lush, that is. That point, you're going, oh, that's really quite firm. And then that's the first iteration of it, which is like...
There's also a
crazy.
change of the carbon plate shape as well on that. That's dips S shape, isn't it?
It's got more of that ASICS look to that front. It starts.
I don't know who does their carbon plates, do you?
I think it's in-house.
I think it is in-house, that one. There's, I think all there is do all their own stuff. And that's the first one, which, as you can see, with that plate in that one, that's quite flexible. You try and do that.
Ironically, you need to flex it the other way.
The other way?
Because your foot doesn't bend upwards, does it?
No, it's the...
So the reason the plate's there is to push your centre of mass for the back under you.
So it's this one...
Yes, because it's a split plate on that one, isn't
that one now is... That I think they have now... That doesn't exist anymore. Because they've gone through the whole 3 changes.
That looks a bit dead as well.
Yeah, that's added, that one. That's kaput.
Andy's Carbon Shoe Museum.
It is.
Yeah, you should be able to...
As you can tell, it is a bit battered because I've split the sides and everything, but that one is battered. But out of those, I do find that shoe extremely comfortable to run in. I've done what mileage...
It's also firmer midsole, isn't it?
Firmer there, but the foam, I think they've changed what they do with their foam, and it makes it such a much more comfortable ride. And it's one of them, at slow, if you're poddling in it, it's no use. You've got to give it... You've got to get your legs going through. Once your legs are going through, you don't... That feels like a slipper.
Much change to mechanics on that one?
That is interesting because I feel a little bit more upright. So you feel like you've got that lean going.
Did you take it with you to the filming?
No, for this one, no, because this one's only just come out. So
we can change that when we go downstairs.
Yeah, so that's... that is up there with one of my favourite ones, and the dip in the coffee as well.
Okay, so score out of 10 for that one?
That's 7.5 on that one.
Okay, so Saucony's probably just edging it at the moment.
Yep.
All right. Let's head to...
Let's go to Asia. Go Mizuno. Well, both Asics
and Mizuno.
Well, I tell you what, let's come back to that. Let's do the company I love to hate.
Everyone hates a Nike. Everyone doesn't like a Nike. The interesting shoe, this one. This has only done... That's done about 50 miles in total. That's done 2 races, that one. That's done Rotterdam and Berlin last year. That was because I saved that for a race.
It must be...
Primarily for the cost.
You must like it quite a lot if you've prepared to race in it.
Yeah, I liked it because it made you feel taller. It made you feel...
Go on.
With hence the clog bit. Hence the cloggy bit at the back. But it was comfortable. It was fun to run in. But again, you get a hideous noise with it. You get that horrible slappy noise. Also, the stability in this shoe is not very good at all. You have got to have a
Is that low pressure in the air pads or the other way?
I wouldn't. It just makes you feel wobbly. When you put that on, your foot feels like that. Because I think because of how high it is, you're quite...
How soft's the foam?
Very soft on that one.
Yeah, that'd be why then, I would imagine.
Yeah, you do feel really unstable on that. So a good core is... In essence, you need a damn good core to race in carbon shoes. But it's got a lovely return on it. When you... Even though Harvey don't like it, it is a fun shoe to run in. Once you're up to speed again, it's that... You can't do a slow, easy run in them. That's what the point I'm trying to make with a lot of these. You can't. They are developed for getting out on a track or in a race situation. But you do see a lot of people that have been like they've bought into the hype, putting this on, and they automatically think I'm going to be a faster runner on slow training runs when they're out just. I hate to use the word, but jogging. If they're out jogging, you see them in these, and I'm thinking, what benefit is that for you? It's not benefiting you because you'll put that on in a race situation and not feel that benefit. You want to put that on and feel special. If you know what I mean, it's that, look at me in my new race shoe. That's 90% of half of the carbon shoe is, look at that, I've got a shoe that's nearly broke a world record and done all this and done all that.
We've always had that though.
Yeah, it's
not new.
No, it's the hype, especially with the Nike ones. There's a lot of hype goes into the Nike shoes, a lot of build up, a lot of prep, a lot of media work goes into it, and as a human being, we are suckers for advertising.
Can I have a look?
Yep. And once you're advertising, think this does this, this does this. Oh, I'm having a pair. So they're an interesting combination of the AirPods, the soft foam, and the carbon plate. It's like a mix of everything.
Yeah, that's right. You can see what they're trying to do with the urethane, can't you, on the inside the AirPod?
Mm-hmm. And what would you rate that one out of 10?
That's a 6 for me on that one, Alfie.
Mm-hmm. So lowest so far.
Yep.
Interesting.
And then move on to the next, the Vaporfly.
Yeah, the Vaporfly, brand new one, 3s.
Which, ironically, I just tried your Alphaflys on the treadmill and they didn't feel good on my feet. But you were saying you don't like this one, and actually this felt alright for me. So it's
very strange. I prefer their...
Was that the Herd of Elephants one?
No, that's that one.
Did you run in those?
Yeah, they felt fine.
Felt better, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their third version of that shoe. I prefer their second version. I don't know what they've done to this one, but it just doesn't feel like you get up to speed quicker and you feel
this one?
You're having to work harder. It doesn't feel as relaxed as the Vaporflies.
More stable?
No, less stable.
Still wobbly?
Yeah, very wobbly.
Soft foam again in it though.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just mentally or anything, but it's one of those things where I just think they've altered it somehow from the second, the last version with like the pointy heel and things like that. I should have brought one of those, but they've gone for that square-backed heel.
It looks like that's the shaped carbon. That might be the flatter one because of where the AirPods are. I don't know.
But it's don't get me wrong. Once you go in and it is a fast shoe and they are very light. But
reminds me of a Phylon midsole, which used to be was it the Nike Terra where that first came out, which was like a racing shoe. Never lasted very long, but
no, they didn't. They were melted.
They were really light though.
Like it's one of those things. I don't know if they've done something, but it doesn't seem. Whether I've not given them enough miles because I've not really pushed them because, like I say, they're not my cup of tea as such.
Yeah. Did you do a lot in the 2?
Yes, I love the 2s.
Mm-hmm.
They felt really. You felt. It's going back to that word again, which is me special. You felt, I've put on a really good pair of shoes, and you feel 100% better.
Oh, and offset lacing as well, which is always can be a bit weird on some feet.
Yeah.
So go on then. What out of 10?
4. That's a 4.
That's a 4.
That's a 4 for me on that one.
Ah.
That's a 4.
And the 2?
The 2 that's an 8.
Okay.
Don't know what they've done to that one, but that doesn't work. Like you say, your Alpha doesn't work for you.
Yeah, it's
that somehow. Yes, even though I've spent the money on it and bought it, should have sent it back. But that's not the purpose of why I do it. It's the purpose, a bit of discovery, and that for me, I couldn't race in that shoe. I wouldn't feel comfortable unless I've got a bit more confidence.
It doesn't feel like
with
you've trained in it much either.
No,